Thanks for joining me on another episode of Art World Confessions. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification button so you know when next I upload a new episode. I know that's a lot to ask for just off the bat, but by now you probably know me. You know what my agenda is. You know what I'm going to speak about. So please, by all means, subscribe, keep in touch, and I'll see you again on another episode. Hi, so welcome back to another episode of Art World Confessions. I've changed up the scenery a bit today. I hope you appreciate it. By all means, let me know in the comments which one you prefer. I thought it would be good to get off of the analyst couch today and just speak in a more upright and forthright position. So today I wanted to talk about some disreputable characters in the art world. I've talked about this a little bit before in another episode unrelated to Art World Confessions, but it came to my attention recently that someone that I had mentioned before as a disreputable person had been telling an artist that for $10,000 he would help to get them established in the art world. Whatever that meant, I'm not sure. Perhaps get him an exhibition, put him into an article in his magazine, promote him to some collectors. I have no idea exactly what the terms were, but I heard from a good source who was speaking to the artist that this person offered that, and the artist was actually thinking of paying them to do this. Anyone who's asking you for money to help you out with art, needless to say, they're not a patron of the art. And who knows if they will actually be able to help you. I mean, these things are extremely difficult to quantify and to follow up on unless they themselves have a gallery space. Like, let's say you walk into a gallery and they want to rent you a space to do an exhibition for $10,000. That might work. That's an exchange. You know what you're going to get. You have a space, you have dates, you have walls, you have a budget, and you're working with someone. That works. But, you know, just the idea that someone is going to take your money and then quote unquote help to establish you, it's not necessarily going to work. And if that person who's offering to help you is someone that you don't have any references to, you never met before, no one has said to you that this is a good person to work with or something like that, it's probably a scam, and you should probably run as far as you can in the other direction and use your money in a better way to establish yourself. In today's art world, there's so many ways to be out there besides the traditional route of gallery, artist, relationship, and stuff like that. I mean, I tell artists this all the time who come to me. I mean, there's so many examples of artists who are not just being found on Instagram and doing their stuff through Instagram, but just I guess the word is called grinding or hustling. They have their studio, they're out there making contacts, they're getting commissions to do stuff at public commissions in cultural institutions, they're getting their art on clothes and on other merchandise. There's tons of ways now to do things without having to pay someone a bunch of money to quote unquote help you out. And this goes back to the other thing why I really don't like this sort of practice in the so-called art world, because these are really more fringe characters than the art world. But it also goes into all these men, and I say men, but who knows, there might be women involved as well. Everyone knows, and I think it's safe to use this name because she's living in the East Village in New York City, you know, practically a neighbor. Everyone knows Miss Delvy's story and the consequences of whatever her actions were. It's no different from another character from England who was arrested, Mr. Philbrick. You know, he's going around with all these bankers and guys in suits, and they're making deals and selling paintings, and at the end of the day, what happens? Somebody gets screwed, and not in a pleasant way. I mean, even for myself, you know, I know one collector. I gave him an option to give me a very small retainer to work with his collection. He didn't want to. He thought it wasn't worth it, perhaps. Either way, he went to work with some other Russian guy. I won't name this name, but he thought that with this guy's name and so-called reputation, he would be well off to work with him. Come a few years later, what happened? He'd been ripped off of tens of thousands, if not more, based on artwork which wasn't quote-unquote kosher. Anyways, there's so many examples of this, and I'm able to use names in this episode because this stuff is Googleable. All of this stuff has been in the newspaper. Major galleries like Knödel, I mean, just a few years back, huge scandal. Why? Because people promise to do one thing or another, and they're not actually telling the truth, and they're taking advantage of their peers and their other people in the art world. I mean, it's sometimes a sketchy thing. Even just the other day, this artist Raymond Pettibone was having his works forged by someone who he had worked with closely. I mean, if you can't even trust the people you're working with closely, who can you trust? But it just goes back to my point again, that at the end of the day, you have to be so careful. You have to be so careful with, and in a way, then you understand why people talk about protection in the art world, why they're always so nervous and so, what's the word, anxious, and in some ways, nervous Nellies. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of money moving around, and there's a lot of things that could go wrong, and there are a lot of people who are just out for their own good and not really helping anyone but themselves and their bottom line. I mean, when it comes down to it, you know, it's all about the dollar, especially in this market for art. So if you listen to my last episode, you'll see that there are many other motivations to be in the art world. Primarily, higher ones don't pay as much, but the lower ones, they might very well pay you a lot. So that's my episode for Art World Confessions today. I hope you enjoyed it. By all means, like, subscribe, share, hit the bell notification button so you know when next I upload, and join me again soon for another episode of Art World Confessions. Thanks, and have a great week.